Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way. Episode 462. Stevesmi and the Rickster, Ricky V. Rock. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Steve? What's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there? And today we have another special episode and another interview from my EliteFitness.com podcast. Today we're interviewing Sam Strange. He's one of the founders of Glaxon, and he did a great job with that brand. They went from nothing to worldwide distribution in a matter of just a couple of years. You know, Sam is one of those guys I've known in the industry for a little while, knew about him before he started Glaxon. We kind of started shooting this shit on Messenger and phone calls once in a while, talking about the industry while he was doing Glaxon. And I just had to get him on and talk about his supplement brand. I know a lot of guys are curious about having their own supplement brand, running it, what they need to do, what it takes, what kind of numbers, what kind of money some of the top brands can make. Also, we spoke at the start, a little bit of gossip about Blackstone, Aaron Zimmerman, PJ Braun, you know, the industry. So it was a really good podcast, a little bit of gossip at the start, a little bit of he's telling us the secrets that he used to grow his brand to where it is today. And I think everybody will appreciate it, man. So without further ado, here we go. What do you think, Steve? You looking forward to it?
Yeah, let's listen to what he has to say for sure. So let's hit it.
Hit it. So there was actual mislabeling of products, but what were they actually mislabeling from what to what? What, you know, because that was a big part of their whole charge in that case there, correct?
You're talking about the Blackstone stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. Aaron and Blackstone.
You gotta tell your fucking audience, bro.
Oh no, well, I do an intro before I start.
Okay.
Yeah, I do an intro. I introduce the show, the channel. Yeah. So hit it up. Sorry,
all right.
I'll edit some down.
All right, edit this shit out. Starting again now. Hey, so yeah, allegedly, or not allegedly, I guess it's been proven now in a court of law, but I will still say allegedly because I was not there. I think DMZ was the compound that it was, you know, it wasn't illegal, I think pre-2014, but then it did become illegal. But those guys were just making so much product and so much money. I mean, if you think about it, these products were costing, I think, like $8 delivered, and they're selling them for like 80, $100, whatever it was. And let's be honest, they were working for people, so people kept buying them because that stuff did work. It was real pharmaceutical product. I think it was called Super DMZ was the SKU, which was the biggest issue. I don't think they were that bothered about the DMAA and DMHA. That's much lesser infringement. But yeah, that was the one I think which really did it. And they kept selling it through 2017, I believe. So many years.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always thought that DMZ was one that they missed in the 2014 ban. And so this is why a lot of companies continue to sell it. But the FDA did get some additional powers to just kind of point at things and say that's illegal, even without it being put into law.
I think
they kind of did that with DMZ.
I think they were told to stop selling it. So then they mislabeled it, adulterated it, whatever you want to call it. Again, this is all the allegations. I'm not sure.
So they were putting DMZ. So they were putting DMZ in what? In products that they claim to be what? SARMs or to be or be what? Meaning they were still moving the DMZ, but mislabel it. So like under another name or something?
Yeah. So the technical term for that is adulterating. So that's when you knowingly spike a product or you don't disclose an ingredient in there. So you're not allowing the consumer to be informed in what they're purchasing. So if you're buying a natty test booster and it's like loaded with Superdrol or something, and you're not taking a PCD or a liver protection or whatever it might be, you know, obviously you can't make an informed decision. You know, my body, my choice, but you have to know what's in it, right? That's one thing. I think that's the lowest of the low. One thing, selling research chemicals and everyone knows what it is and you know what you're doing. Another thing is mislabeling it and saying, hey, this is a natural test booster, but actually it's got pro hormones in it. Because that's how many people do you know personally in the mid 2000s who were fucked up from pro hormones? I know people whose systems never recovered. Some of the sides.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys who had their first run-in with anabolics through pro hormones, and many of them had side effects and left and never used again. Definitely, there's a lot of those stories for sure.
Yeah, if you don't go to an endro afterwards, you're never going to reset your system. I know people who are on, test for life after that, and people who had gyno for life and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know about you, but I took some products when I was probably it's probably like 25, 26, first time I ever took a pro hormone, which was the first time I'd ever experienced like an anabolic or a designer steroid or whatever you want to call it. I got better gains off of some of those things than I did real gear, but I was also batshit crazy within 3 weeks. I never finished a bottle. I tried it 2 or 3 times, never finished a bottle. There was a product called Savage. I think there's another one called Sasquatch. Anyway, I couldn't get through more than like three weeks before I was like batshit crazy. But I tell you, in those 3 weeks, combined with diet and training and eating properly and everything, I got better gains than I would get off the steroids later on in life.
Yeah, there was a short time, I think, between like 2010 and 2013 where there were a lot of UG labs, and most of what's available was underground labs. And those are always sketchy whether you're getting what you paid for or not. And you also had the over-the-counter options of just getting these pro hormones before they got banned. And those were usually pretty good, pretty up to label claims. So you would actually get, in my opinion, at least in that little bit of a time frame, you get better product going over-the-counter pro hormones than you would getting underground lab stuff at that time, because at that time underground labs were pretty big too.
Yeah,
so I mean, so DMC technically wasn't. I mean, that's as far as I know, and I could be wrong, maybe. But as far as I remember, I think DMC is the one that they just kind of sort of missed putting in the legislation, in the legislature in 2014, and so a lot of companies continued to sell it because they weren't explicitly told not to in the legislation, and they waited to get letters and got in trouble. Now it's amazing. So dude's doing almost 4 years, I think, he got sentenced for, and PJ's going to be
Aaron's been sentenced. The other guys haven't been sentenced yet. I believe it's in the next like 10 days or so. Aaron got 4.5 years, and then he will be doing probation, and I'm not sure whether he will be allowed to work in the industry or not. I'm not sure if that was, I think he will be. I think that was one of the things that obviously for someone like him in his position, it'd be very important to keep. I know some people were being offered deals where they could never work in the industry again.
Right. Do you think Redcon will still be there in its current form when he comes out, or do you think what do you think is going to happen?
I would imagine that, I know they already sold some equity to a private investment firm or whatever it is. I assume it's a long time, right? And especially in a fast-moving industry like ours, who knows what's going to be. I mean, Redcon, in my opinion, is already peaked in terms of its popularity and its scale, and it's, like there's only how big can you be in this space, really? The one thing I would say is I don't know how many buyers there are in the modern era. There's not a Glambia coming in to buy that brand now. Like, that's just not going to happen. But it could become one of those sort of legacy brands which is sold everywhere and the formulas get dumbed down a little bit. I guess it depends how much he's tied it to his ego. Sometimes that's the situation. It's, who are these people without the brand? Who are they? Who's Aaron without Redcon, I guess, would be a question. I think he's done enough to build his own reputation, and I think it will still be to a lot of people that they won't really care about this stuff. Like the snitching thing, like, that's a little bit disingenuous because, he's snitching on himself, man. Like, you know what I mean? He's snitching on, it's not the same as snitching on the mob or something. No one's going to give a fuck about that. Like, you snitched on some like white collar crime. No one cares about that.
And he also agreed, it seems like from what I've heard, that he, in his agreement, his plea deal, he agrees to cooperate in other cases. So apparently the other cases where he could be a witness in, and he might actually now go and make some other people's situations worse because as part of his deal, he has to cooperate in other things. Apparently there's a lot of cases going on right now over some Blackstone stuff and some of these pro hormones, some people making it, some people distributing it after the 2014 ban. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know about that personally. I don't have a personal relationship with Aaron or PJ to really talk on that, but there's a lot of times where people say they're going to cooperate and then they don't cooperate. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I'll tell you whatever you need to know. I don't know anything. Do you know what I mean? Like that there's always that it's an old trick in the criminal world. Yeah, I'll cooperate. And I mean, you've seen The Godfather 2, haven't you?
Of course. And then
Where
you
he
get on
says
the
he's going
stand,
to
you're like, I don't
testify.
know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
That's interesting. So now when he left Blackstone, he started Redcon. Redcon, for all intents and purposes, is a pretty darn mainstream brand. Wouldn't you say? It's really geared towards the mainstream, not the hardcore users, say like a Blackstone was, right?
Listen, Blackstone for me was, so I used to work for Gaspari. You maybe don't know that I was like the COO of Gaspari. So I came into Gaspari after Gaspari had already peaked and it was on the downward trajectory a little bit at the time. And that's why it was acquired. And that's why I came in. But Blackstone kind of copied the Gaspari playbook. They became that edgy brand. They did Gaspari was doing print media, spending 10 20 30 million dollars a year in print media, in the magazines, etc., etc. Blackstone basically just did that, but they did it in the new media, which is obviously social media. So they kind of inherited that mantle, and from what I'm led to believe, they told Rich they were trying to be like, they wanted to be the next Rich Gaspari at the time, and they obviously surpassed that somewhat. If you remember back to the days where it was PJ in a thong in front of a Ferrari, and it's him and Aaron in the Olympia, I forget. I think it was the Olympia. I think it was the 2015 Olympia. They were just, just as the title sponsors and stuff. And then Redcon obviously came out of that. But I always thought of PJ as an outsider looking in. I always thought of like, oh, PJ's the main guy there, and maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But you got to give Aaron credit because he obviously blew Blackstone out of the water with Redcon. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Blackstone being a bit of a cult of personality. Like it was just these two guys. And I remember when Aaron left.
I honestly thought the labels were cheap as fuck. I thought it was tacky, man. I did not I didn't think it was anything too special myself. Obviously the products definitely worked. The flavor systems were pretty poor in my opinion. Definitely the original, like the early days. I'm sure they improved over time, but Redcon 1 to me isn't for me either. I thought the branding was pretty boring. They actually copied one of our labels too. They used the exact same artwork, which was kind of flattering, I guess. I guess they only copy from the best, right?
Yeah, Redcon did, right? Off of who? Off of Glaxon or Gaspari?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was one of their Total War flavors. It had the same. I don't know if you ever saw we discontinued it anyway as a result, but there was a product called Cheat, and it had this astronaut guy holding a cheeseburger. They got the same exact astronaut. They changed the color of the guy's suit, and then they put a lollipop, like an ice cream, instead of a cheeseburger.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they probably the graphic designer was on the same stock.
No, I've been told by someone.
Yeah.
I've been told by someone who I can't say his name for legal reasons, but I've been told there's like a hit list of brands to sort of draw inspiration from, and we were top of the list. So,
well, you guys did do an incredible job with Glaxon. Is probably one of.
Thank you. I just got my brand of the year trophy through today, ironically. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, watching it from the outside, just seeing how it first got started, because I remember you on social media pumping the first couple of products you put out, and then finally seeing you cross that finish line. I mean, you were pretty much everywhere across the world, and then you got picked up by GNC. Which, look, whatever's going on with GNC and their financials and their stock, whatever, but it's still a great channel to be distributed through. I mean, it's a lot of locations.
So GNC is not public anymore. Rick, is a privately held company at the moment. I'm sure they will go public again in the future, but the new ownership is very different to the previous regime, and they're not paying themselves like $10 million bonuses or whatever the figures were while the company's going down the shitter. I believe they're fixing the balance sheet, and I believe fully in GNC, and I think it's going to become a destination for people to buy supplements again. And they're definitely embracing the innovation, the science, the results, all the things they weren't doing for a long time.
Yeah, no, I remember when you put out that release on your page there. In my typical humor, I just went in and answered one. I just put one word as sellout or something like that, I think.
Oh, did you? Was that you?
Yeah. That was me fucking with you, because I thought it was incredible. Something
about selling out. We sell out our products. We don't sell out. There is a difference, and people need
that
to
is what you
that.
said. That was the gist of your reply to me when I posted that. I said sell out, because that was a big thing in the music industry back in the day, right? You'd be a sellout.
Yeah, making money makes you a fucking sellout, right? Okay.
But I got to tell you, man, I was really impressed by the way you guys did that. And there was, for a long time, I was trying to figure out, I try to figure out what you did, because as a brand owner myself, I'm always trying to draw inspiration. You know, I there's so many ways to grow a brand that you can specialize in a single way of grow it and never see the other channels that were there. When I saw you growing Glaxon, I started kind of looking around and seeing how you did it, and a lot of it is still a mystery to me. I mean, there was a time when you were, to be real, man, you were getting picked up in Europe, and I can't even get a fucking store to call me back in the US. And I look at your Instagram, I look at your Facebook, and I have, 10 times the amount of followers and people fucking with my post on our company page, and you doing yours, and you're getting distribution out there. And I'm trying to figure how this fucking thing is working. And I did search a lot, and I picked up some things that I know I need to do with my own brand. But I'm telling you, dude, I was very, very impressed. And at that time, I hadn't really spoken to you a lot. Then later on, I found out, I mean, you have a lot of experience in the industry. You came from Gaspari, and you worked for another company. You've worked for a couple of big brands before you really launched Glaxon, it seems, and that really helped you know what the fuck you were doing when you got the chance. It's one of those things where preparedness means opportunity. Is that what it's called? Where ability means meets the chance, right?
Well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, experience. I come from a corporate background before I even worked in this industry. I chose to leave that world to come into this industry because I was a fan. I don't really feel like I work anymore, to be honest with you. I feel like a kid in a candy shop. But then I had an opportunity to link up with my business partner, who's a manufacturer, to give us the vertical integration, which sort of guaranteed, well, it did in the old world before COVID, it guaranteed you supply. Now it's still very difficult. And as we grow and we scale up, it becomes more and more difficult because you can't even throw $1 million at someone and get product. It's not like that anymore. So, it's very, very complicated. But yeah, vertical integration, timing is very important, relationship management, deferment of gratitude. We were very, very conservative with what we did in the early days. We weren't all like driving. We didn't do the Blackstone. We weren't leasing Rolls Royces and Ferraris and shit like that. So,
no, I saw the way you guys did it. It was pretty you guys definitely, and the imagery, the labels. There are a ton of Easter eggs.
Branding's really important.
Yeah, your label, your artwork, and your label. You brought back a little bit of that. I like to say Warner Brothers kind of look a little bit to the
retro futuristic is the terminology. Yeah. So it's like nostalgic, it's retro future basically. So a lot of people confuse branding with marketing, and they're not the same. Branding is your brand, and marketing is how you market that brand. And they're two different things. Now, the branding we've had nailed down pretty spot on. The marketing, has been pretty decent. We're getting better at it. We're bringing in more talented people and C-suite kind of motherfuckers to do that for us now. I realize I don't want to be a C-suite guy. I don't want to do that. I want to be like a visionary sort of owner, founder. I can do that stuff, but it's not what I enjoy doing. And I'm too politically incorrect. So,
and you mentioned something important, because when I was looking at what you did with Glaxon and kind of the keys to success there, one of the things I identified real quickly on is, you were in a position where you were able to write checks with your mouth that your manufacturer could cash, and you could really get out there and go across the ocean and get to these guys that are moving a lot of product, and actually make promises on amounts of products and timeline that you could absolutely keep up with. And that vertical integration really, I mean, it seemed to me, and like, again, I'm trying to reverse engineer some of what I'm watching you do to see what can apply to my own brand. And knowing that I don't manufacture myself, that even if I pay up front, my runs will get pushed to the end of the line over maybe the manufacturer's own brands when they're putting out their production, that definitely is a hindrance to growth. And it seems like you had that really well taken care of, because you guys do a really good job of manufacturing stuff over there and keeping everything supplied and also expanding the product line. Because that's another thing that really surprised me, is like, wow, not only is it growing fast, but there was a time when you guys were adding a new product almost every 3 months. And it wasn't bullshit products, like it was good stuff. I remember when you guys put out the greens product, I was like, wow, this is perfect. It rounds off the product line pretty nicely, because a greens product is incredibly mainstream. And
let me tell
I mean,
you, that's our number one selling SKU to this day. Like we sell more greens than we do pre-workout, pump, fat
I knew it was a
burner.
wrap.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, when I see you put out the greens product and I've seen everything, the trajectory the brand was taking and everything you were doing, I knew it was a wrap. I'm like, all right, these guys are going to be everywhere.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a balancing act. So what I would say is all the people who were with us from like day one, which was the 11th of November, 2019 is when we launched the brand with a couple of SKUs. All of them still exist now, apart from one, which we had to change the name due to legal issues. Sedative was the old Tranquility, and our attorneys were like, hey, you can't really call a product sedative. And, when we saw like the growth, which was coming, we pivoted out of it very quickly. But all of the retailers in specialty, like all of them who were there and were from day one, are still with us now. The ones who came midway through the ride, some of them have left because they get, I don't know whether it's, disillusioned, disenchanted, or they're hating or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I get it, bro. Like, it's no hard feelings. It's a business. But, if you can't order more than $400 a month off of me, I'm not going to turn down someone who can order, $4 million a month off me. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
And let me ask you a question about the acquiring of these accounts. Now, when you went to these accounts, and it's got to play out one or two ways in my mind. I don't know. When you go to these accounts, are you like, hey, my name is Sam Strange, and I'm here to talk to you about this Glaxon brand you've probably already heard of or probably already seen somewhere? Or was it more like, hey, what's up, bro? This is Sam. I got something new I'm working on. I think you're gonna like it. Like, how did it go? Was it your connections, your network already helping you promote, or was it the other way around? Like Glaxon didn't really get that big that when you approach someone to talk about the brand, they've already seen it or heard about it, or they were approaching you.
Yeah, that's how it is now. I mean, honestly, the early days, a lot of, especially some of the older people in the industry who, older store owners and stuff, like there were some who took it because I had a relationship with them and like, all right, Sam, I fuck with you. So like, we're going to carry it. And then obviously the retention was there, the redemption rate was there, customers came back, etc. There were other people who straight up said, oh, that's gay. They didn't get it. Like, they literally, their words were, that is gay. Now, shows you their age a little bit in 2020 or 2020, it would have been back then to be talking like that anyway. That's like how I would have talked when I was like 12 or something. But like, it's whatever, bro. It's like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And then what happens is you get to a stage where you become so big that these people want to bring you in because the kids are coming in looking for it. And we're in an instant gratification society now where, people don't buy records anymore. They stream them on Spotify, and it's all about clickbait and going viral and all these other kind of like buzzwords. And the whole way people consume media products, etc., is changing. So people need to be looking to the future. The people like you and I, our demographic, our age group, we're aging, we're not the future anymore. So we're now. So like, you've got to look to the future. But no, I mean, I don't, these days it's there's push and pull strategies in marketing and sales. And, thankfully, luckily, thanks to God, like, it's been very much a pull strategy where people are pulling it into their stores as opposed to us having to push it into their stores. At the beginning, it was a little bit more push than pull, but now it's very much pull. When you reach that critical mass kind of stage, eventually you just have to keep filling the orders. But at some stage, it will go the other way. Every brand has a life cycle. The coolest brand, like whether it be, let's take Ghost as an example, just one brand of the decade, really cool brand, really, different, innovative in its own way. Got some of the, the best packaging in the industry, best branding. First to do the real like flavor collab thing, which everyone's kind of doing now. But even those guys, eventually they will come to a stage, or whether it be Redcon, where it's like, hey, like, you've been around for, 5 to 7 years at the top, and you can't stay on top forever. So everyone has to remember that and make sure they build the relationships which are going to last. When you're not hot, they're still going to want to carry you because you have a good relationship and you kept your word with these people.
That's interesting. That's real interesting. What do you what would you say is the one marketing platform or the one marketing vehicle or whatever that you think has gotten more eyes on your brand? I'm talking specifically about customers. What do you think has worked for you the best to reach the most?
For us, it was Instagram, but for the next one, it will be TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, I have TikTok on my phone. I've never even used it. I think I posted one video like once a year ago and never did again. I think that will be the future. I think Discord has a place as well. It allows you to connect with community different, but Instagram was the vehicle for us, but it's not going to be the future. Instagram's broken now.
So how did Instagram help? Were you guys paying for ads on Instagram, or were you guys using influencers? What was your Instagram strategy?
We've never
that
really
helped out?
used influencers. We don't have any, like, I get offered occasionally people you know, who I won't say his names, and we've never done that. At some point we will have to do something like that just because it will make sense, but it will have to be the right fit, the right person. You know, there's only so many in any era. You know, right now the guys Chris Bumstead. You know, in my era it was Jay Cutler. You know, like, and who in the future will probably be some nerd who plays video games. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck knows? But yeah, Instagram, we just used it as we use Instagram as like sort of a provenance thing. And what I mean by that is you go to our Instagram, you look at it, and then you're like, we're not trying to really sell you anything on Instagram. It's not like an airport catalog or something like that where we're trying to hock you discounted booze or some shit. It's like, hey, this is who we are. This is our branding. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We take the quality of our product seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. I'm not on there. Michael, my business partner's not on there trying to be the face of the brand. We're not trying to become famous. We're not interested in that. The brand, you know, our logo, our mascot is a dude wearing a space mask. It could be anyone. There's been like 50 different people wearing that mask. You know what I mean? So it was just a way for people to verify and to come and check and say, oh yeah, this is a cool brand. And we're not really there trying to push product on you.
I was really surprised by your strategy as far as your posts on Instagram when I've seen you guys do this, because it's all very artistic. They were like, shit, when I publish stuff, I put a bottle, my product bottle, and I'll put writing and text next to it talking about the different attributes to it. What you guys did on Instagram were just kind of just beautiful images. You would put the product in a setting or put it in a certain place, and you wouldn't actually put any text next to the bottles or any of that tacky stuff, which I guess, you know, looking at your stuff, it seems tackier. You know, you guys just did really beautiful, gorgeous pictures. We did some stuff that just looked like something you would put as a wallpaper on your desktop. I thought that was really interesting. Did you guys push a paid advertising on Instagram, or was your burn mainly organic?
We did spend, you know, we've had various budgets. You know, we usually, like, I'll tell you one thing, Facebook's definitely broken. We cut spending money on Facebook and it didn't change anything in terms of our direct sales at all. Like, wow. Nothing, like not even noticeable. So we were like, okay, well, sweet, we'll stop doing that.
Yeah. So just for context, the majority of the guys that listen to my podcast, we're all hardcore steroid users. You know, we're on the sauce.
Sure. A
lot of my guys are trainers. A lot of my guys are coaches. A lot of my guys own stores and things like that. So, yeah. There's a lot of folks interested on the business side of how you accomplished what you did, and definitely nobody would be able to now replicate what you did on Instagram because it's a different year, and Instagram itself, the algorithm and the way it works,
TikTok's taking the place. That's the future, man. Like, and it'll be something else in 3 years' time. It'll be something else. The zeitgeist will have changed. I mean, me personally, I'm going to have to hire a bunch of kids because, like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to be involved in the TikTok thing. I do understand it. I know people who are older than you and I in their mid to late 40s who are addicted to it. And I'm just like, I don't want any part of that. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the future. That's the attention spans people have now. Everyone wants to be the movie star on TikTok and put the filters on and, you know, dress up stupid and whatever, man. Like, it sells product good. Like me, it's not really for me. I'm aware of it, I'm conscious of it, but that would be the future. Instagram will always be a place people come just to, like, review it and to see things and to, like I said, to verify something. But in terms of content creation, I believe TikTok is, you know, I have a CMO who is much more in tune with this stuff than us. He's only joined recently, but he's been telling me this for the last couple of months, and he's handling all that for us now. So I trust his word on that and his judgment. As I say, unfortunately, Instagram was great for a while, but it just became broken with all the fake blue tick people and the bots and this and that. You know what I mean? Like, how many people do you see who are nobodies who have blue ticks? It's a load of crap.
A ton of them. I don't know if you could still buy one for $2,000, but I think
you can't anymore. But the genie's out of the bottle, isn't it? So, like, there's already enough people with that rolling around there. Yeah, it's the fake followers, the fake likes. You know, it's become broken. I know they're trying to fix it, but I don't know if you can. Also, the fact that it's part of Facebook, I think Facebook has ruined itself with all the political nonsense it's got involved in and censoring people and all that kind of stuff. And people are bored of it. Like, no, that's the one good thing though. Like, you don't really see the politicking on there. And I think everyone's fatigued of it. I know I am.
So I've got a good question for you that I think a lot of people would like the answer to. And if you could guesstimate a number, that'd be great. From the launch until you got picked up by GNC, it was about a 3 to 3 year span that I think I tracked, about 3-4 year span, right?
No, we're in our third year now. We launched November the 11th, 2019. So it took us about, I would say, 18 months or less.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. So in those 18 months, what kind of budget would you have spent on Instagram per se in that time, and what kind of management of the ad spend did you have?
$10,000.
$10,000 total or per month?
A month.
10,000 up a month, and
not for the full 18 months. We didn't spend anything at first, and then once we got to a stage where, remember, COVID hit in the middle of this, so we launched in the end of 2019. We started every month we were doubling our sales, and then COVID happened, and that obviously put a spanner in the works. But luckily, we had a pretty broad, diverse range of products by then, including like greens, which wasn't foreplanning in terms of knowing that this was going to happen. It was just luck, and I believe you make your own luck. I'm part Irish, so I believe in that. I believe you work and make your own luck. But after we started having like a positive cash flow and we could pay salaries and bills and all the other things, and we had leftover money, we decided to invest around $10,000 a month on it. And it definitely did something. I'm not sure it was the most optimum use. I'm all about, this is the trouble. You'll hire a marketing agency and they'll be talking to you about ROAS and TROAS, which is targeted return on ad spend, and all this kind of bullshit, which doesn't really mean anything. It's just like, oh, your ROAS is like 300%. So yeah, that's fine, but that doesn't actually matter. What really matters is customer acquisition costs. So how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? Because if you have a good product, once you've got that person in your web, if you want to call it, or your system, your engine, your filter, whatever you want to fucking call it, once you've got them in there, you can retarget them, you can advertise to them. And Glaxon, luckily, our products are very good, and in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, so the retention's there. So then it becomes, better. So if you can get anything below like $20 customer acquisition cost, then you're gonna be in a good place.
Yeah, I mean,
do you understand what I mean by customer acquisition cost?
Absolutely. Yeah. How much at the end of the day, after it's all set, spent, and done, how much is it really costing you to bring in each new customer? Individual customer. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're spending like $300, well, fucking hell, you're not going to make, how much product do you have to sell that person just to break even,
Yeah, definitely. And different businesses, depending on what your business model is, you have a different amount you can spend. Obviously, you need, in your case, you were spending this for mostly direct-to-consumer sales, right? At the start of your brand, you were about half direct-to-consumer sales on your website and half wholesale. It's probably much more wholesale now than it used to be, correct? Or have you maintained growth on your direct-to-consumer sales?
No, we built this brand on wholesale through our relationships in brick and mortar, and it took us quite a while to break a 6-figure mark DTC every month, direct to consumer. So no, we were definitely built in wholesale. We were built in international. We were built by, super users, I call them. And that's the key. The key to any brand, in my opinion, is super users. We have people in our funnel, as the marketing agencies would like to call it, in our engine, as I call it. We have those people in there who, it doesn't matter what we drop within reason, unless it's like something very left field which doesn't suit their lifestyle. But that's the thing, Glaxon is like, we're kind of like anti-lifestyle, because we're not a lifestyle brand, we're not a bodybuilding brand, we're not a skateboarding brand, we're not a yoga brand, we're not a gym centric brand. We have products for every lifestyle. So we have sleep products, we have stress products, we have health products, we have wellness products, we have biohacking products, we have bodybuilding products, we have stimulant products. We have like a whole, breadth before depth is what I would say on that front. But, these people, once, those super users, they are going to build your brand. And if you get like 100 of those who are very passionate and buy all your products every month, you have a successful direct to consumer business. If you get 1,000, you have a very successful. You get 10,000, then you're going to do very well. And they're out there. Those people are out there. You know, you can build like for like audiences. We're just scratching the surface of that. And as I said, we brought a CMO in specifically to do that. A very high level guy. I'm not going to say his name because he gets embarrassed about this stuff, and he's a private person. But his track record and his pedigree is very high. And you know, that's what we're doing. Like I said, you build it up. You have founders and you have C-suite people. I used to want to be a C-suite person. Now I'm happy being a founder and someone who's a visionary and sets like goals and ideas and brainstorm stuff and creative shit. And then, you know, these people come in and they refine it and they make it better and they optimize it and they, you know, good, best, you know, you have good, better, best, and these people implement best practice. I'm not an expert on digital marketing. I never will be. I'm not inclined to be. We haven't even discussed Amazon. Like, this is a thing which cracks me up a little bit with some of the store owner guys, is like, they're complaining about GNC. GNC has been around since 1935. There is no store owner, none, like not a single independent store owner who's been around that long. Not even like the Godfather, Steve Calabrese. You know, he's not been around that long. So, and in fairness to Steve, he's not even concerned about us being in GNC. What you should be concerned about is Amazon, because Amazon is a threat to everyone. And Glaxon's not even like a massive brand on Amazon. It could be, it will be in the future, I'm sure. But like, this is a thing. We've been supporting brick and mortar. We still have SKUs which are exclusive to brick and mortar that GNC can't have, they don't have, they can't take it, and we'll continue to do that.
You guys do have a lot of SKUs. How many SKUs are you producing right now under Glaxon, just in the US? Because I'm sure you have some versions for.
We have multiple
overseas
versions for multiple markets, but yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, it's a lot. Like probably like 25, and that's not including flavor iterations.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a wide line.
Yeah, we do. We have everything from mushrooms to sleep aids to thermogenics to muscle builders to male optimization to, you know, we have a product which was collagen, yeah, protein now, 2 proteins. We'll be doing an ISO this year as well, just for the purists. But we have a product called Anomaly, which is a anti-catabolic peptide, which was discovered by computer learning, so artificial intelligence, and it was from legume beans, and you know, that's like never even been done before. I'm telling you, a computer decoded loads of information and came to the conclusion, if you synthesize a fucking legume, which is, you know, Deshea because it's found in nature, obviously, then you can have anti-catabolic peptides from it. So, you know, we rolled that out, we launched that.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. What's the name of that ingredient? If you don't mind me asking, I'd like to research it a little bit more.
Yeah, so the SKU is called Anomaly, and the ingredient here, it's a fava bean, which is a type of legume, I believe, and it's called Pepti-Strong. So it's a hydrolysate of fava beans.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the product right now. Also have the achiote tree, huh?
Yeah, got to have that too.
Very interesting. So Anomaly
gold is the trademark name of that long-winded ingredient, you know, but yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
So Anomaly would be like a muscle builder in your brand. It would be one of your take this and you'll gain muscle.
So we're calling it muscle health because it's really what it is super anti-catabolic. So it's actually good for females too. We have one called Flight, which is more of like a muscle builder, I would say. That isn't good for women, in my opinion. I mean, I'll be honest, when I take it, I cycle it on and off. When I take it, I wake up often in the middle of the night going to pee and I have a raging hard on. So anything which gives me a hard on, I'm going to figure is not good for women.
Right.
You've got to imagine so, right? Like,
yeah. That's interesting.
I'll send you a bottle. Send me your address. I'll send you a bottle and you can tell me what you think.
Absolutely. I it's a very interesting compound. Anytime I see plant compounds, phytochemicals that can behave in this kind of way in the human body that work to help anabolism in any way or work as an anti-catabolic. Those are ingredients that are very, very interesting to me, because I think over time, as research develops, we're going to find that there's a lot of really strong plant hormones we can use to gain some good muscle.
There's plants which will take you out of this fucking world. Like you take fucking DMT or something, like that's a plant, you know, like you take that, you'll go to another reality, bro. Of course there's going to be, it's the majority of the guys that buy my products are steroid users. And at the start, everybody's a little bit skeptical there. How are you going to sell me something made up of herbs that's going to help me in PCT or help my liver along? Well,
Dude, plants do some amazing things, everything from caffeine to THC to, so there is a lot of chemistry that plants use for certain processes.
Maybe I'm a
things
dreamer, Rick, but I'm one of these guys who I truly believe the older I get that nature provides everything that we need and has all the answers. We just have to unlock them.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I wanted to ask you another question, Sam, and this question just came up in my mind as we're talking about this. So what's your, I don't know how you would answer this, but what is like your job description? What do you do? Like when you got into this thing with your partners now, you're saying, I'm Sam Strange, and this is what I'm going to do. This is going to be my job. Every day I get up, and this is going to be what my side of the battle, what I'm going to be working on. What is it that you actually do for the whole mix? What is on your shoulders?
So there's two partners, myself and Michael. Michael is the owner of the manufacturing facility, and then there's another key individual who I should shout out called Joey Savage. I'm sure you know who that is. He is the formulator here. He is our chief scientific officer. He's the one who comes up with all these amazing discoveries and finds all these, like, obscure ingredients and gets them all, does all the research for us and does all the chemistry things. And that's why these products work kind of differently to a lot of other people's, because it's not like a kitchen sink approach. We don't just throw every ingredient into a SKU or a product, and we don't, there's synergies which you and I don't understand, but he does. Now he can explain them to me. I still don't understand how they work, but do you know what I'm saying? So he does all that side of things. He has a YouTube channel if anyone's inclined to go and watch, called Supplement Lab, and he just breaks down like ingredients and science, and he can talk about this stuff for like hours. He'll talk a glass eye to sleep if you let him. So, it's not for everyone, but for the more curious people out there, Joey Savage, go check him out. But, I was really more like at first in the sales side of things and the branding. Me and Michael do most of that ourselves. We have a creative, talented artist here called Robert who designs the labels. It's kind of like this is why Glaxon's so unique, because you have like 2 or 3 completely different people's energies in it. So me and Michael are completely different. Joey and I and Michael are all completely different. And Robert's just the most talented artist, graphic designer I've worked with, and I've worked with like 50. So
yeah, that's one thing I think you guys did that was real interesting and really nice with your brand is every single bottle has a completely different color scheme and completely different graphics, yet you can look at any
still
one
looks
of those
uniform,
products.
right?
Yes, like you can look at any of those products.
You get it.
Yeah. You can look at any of the products and say, without even seeing the logo, you say, okay, that's a Glaxon product, but it'll have a completely different color scheme and a completely different elements than the next product.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's it.
Very artistically done. Very artistically, very well done. I mean, there's definitely, I noticed that as I'm watching this, and even watching the stuff you guys publish on Instagram, I say there's a very real, genuine artistic touch to the way that the way this whole thing looks. And I thought that was really interesting. I think that internally, that resonates with people when they approach the brand and they see it and they see the different labels and they see how you guys make the whole line look. I think it's real interesting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was intentional. There's a lot of Easter eggs as well. I'll send you a courtesy pack. We should have done this before we did the podcast, but I'll send you like a courtesy package of the latest stuff, and you can have a look at it, and you'll see there's little things, little Easter eggs, and there's layers in all the labels, and you see different things every time you look at it. So I think you'll appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you could see the work that went into it, all of the little elements, and Easter eggs everywhere. There's little tiny things to look at on every label. I've seen the brand in different stores that I frequent. I obviously already, I got all the supplements that I need, so I'm not much for purchasing stuff nowadays, but I definitely have seen it, and I really appreciate the artistry behind it. It draws the eye, and it's real interesting. I always thought, I was like, how do these guys pull this shit off? Like every bottle is different, but it's the same brand, it's the same product. And that was really, really well done.
I mean, some of these labels, I'm not going to pretend sometimes it's done in like one take and it just all comes together. And then there's been other SKUs where we've had like fucking 20 different looks and we've messed around with it and changed it. And, it's a process, but I think the proof is in the product. And There's honestly right now in the industry, I feel like and I'm talking about the mainstream industry. I'm not talking about like, the gray area stuff. I'm just talking in the industry which we're in. There's kind of like, there's two kind of default looks at the moment. So there's the people who are trying to kind of copy Ghost and not doing it very well, in my opinion. And then there's this other kind of look, which I'm not going to even say names, but there's this other kind of look where they all look the same. So there's like 2 or 3 different sort of like variations of the same look. And that's why I think Glaxon at least is kind of viewed as more organic, because it doesn't look like anyone else's. No one's really copying our branding because it's hard to do. As I said, some brands have tried to do it and we pivoted out of that look immediately. I would say this on the formula side, I would definitely say there's been more people kind of replicating what we're doing. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people drawing inspiration from what we're doing in terms of science and stuff like that. Like I'm a fan of the industry. At the end of the day, I want I'd prefer all brands to do the right thing. That would be better. Label claim is a different matter. Whether or not the product actually makes label claim, that's more questionable.
So you're saying that Glaxon is reaching its peak. You think that there is a life cycle to supplement brands, and that they'll peak and then they'll fall off. Why do you think that happens? What is your description of why that happens? And when a brand peaks, how many millions of dollars a year in product does a brand sell in this kind of space in our market when the brand is peaking? Or like a Redcon, you mentioned also Redcon a little bit earlier. You said they peak. What are you actually making when you're going through your peak, or what is it like?
Well, I mean, it's like anything. Mike Tyson was the baddest man on the planet for a period of time. He didn't stay the baddest man, did he? He peaked. Tyson Fury is right now. He won't be in 5 years' time, probably. I mean, maybe Tyson Fury will. He's a little bit different, but what I'm saying is, there's
like a countryman, right?
What's that?
I said he's your countryman, right? He's from your island, right?
He's born in the same city as me, actually. Yeah.
There you go.
Manchester. So
all right. Little bias.
My family are all from there. My dad lives in Ireland, so similar to him. He's like, Irish, British mix type thing going on. So he's different though. He's a traveling community, or gypsies is the colloquial, term for them.
Oh, so you're trying to be PC there for a second. Just traveling community.
Traveling.
You didn't just want to tell us gypsy tinkers out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in Europe, for Europeans, gypsy is something real negative, right? I mean, it doesn't mean anything to us in the States, but in Europe, it means something.
Gyppo, if you called him a gyppo, that would be offensive to them. A gypsy is, he calls himself a gypsy king. Like, I think, everyone's trying to make everything offensive. You can't say Eskimo anymore. You have to say Inuit or something. So anyway, but
what if you become a Parky? Is that a derogatory?
Pikey, yeah, Pikey. Yeah, that definitely is. You wouldn't call that. If you ever meet him, I wouldn't recommend saying that to him. But
don't call him a Pikey if I meet him. All right, got it.
Yeah, in Ireland they call them knackers. Pikey in English, and in Irish a knacker. So yeah.
Pikey or knacker.
A knacker, yeah, you'll remember that. So yeah, I guess the peak is just an attention span and a creative bandwidth. There's only so much you can do, and after a while, everyone gets fatigued, and something new comes along. There's a different generation. Like every couple of years, there's like a new batch of kids getting into this space who are buying products for different reasons. They're not buying things for the same reason you and I were. Like I wanted to look like Jay Cutler when I was 20. Kids these days don't. They want to look like Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Like it's a different era. There'll be a change again in the next few years. And, I think realistically, depending on the brand and the person behind it, I think 30 to 100 million a year would be a good ballpark of what a peak number would be. Now, is that maintainable for multiple years? I don't know. I don't know if anyone has done that. So hopefully by that point, there'll have been a change in ownership, and I'll be on a beach somewhere. So
yeah, and that we're talking about sports supplements brand, which is the space we're in, because there's other stuff like there's other stuff like Herbalife out there, which Although legally it's kind of the same thing. It's really just a completely different way.
That's
Completely different
that's an LMM.
Yeah.
That's like a multi-level marketing bullshit, isn't it? So,
Yeah, they use nutraceuticals as a monetizing vehicle, but it's still kind of the same space. But as far as sports supplements brand, 30 to 100, what has Redcon ever reported what they did at their peak, or what their best years have been, or we don't
no,
really know
but
that.
it's definitely in the. I'm from what I'm aware of, it's definitely in the mid to ladder ballpark. I gave you. It's definitely more than 30.
That's incredible. High Tech was doing 40 for a very long time. I always thought that was just an incredible number of money to be
he was
moving
doing
around.
30 million a year. He told me himself he was doing 30 million a year mail order. But that's how, like, back then, when 30 million is probably like 100 million in today's money. So yeah, but I mean, that guy might be the exception to the rule. That guy's been making serious bank for a long time. So
yeah, they really have, and he made some acquisitions that worked out well for him. I heard that Gaspari is doing better now than it ever did.
He doesn't own it
Is that
anymore.
correct?
He's flipped it, so he doesn't own it anymore.
Oh, so he bought it and flipped it, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. I did not know that until this podcast.
I mean, it's not. I mean, he's keeping a bit of a low profile these days, which is advisable in his situation. I would be too, just because he's target number one. He is the Al Capone of the supplement space. So,
I mean, yeah,
that's how they'll get him. That's how they'll get him too. It won't be on the crime. It'll be on some tax bullshit. That's like the government. You know how they play. They play dirty. So.
Well, he beat him in court. I mean, that's
exactly.
that's already something. So that's huge.
That's a target on your back immediately.
Yeah. I have him on Instagram. I see him on Instagram here and there posting some of his little trips and when he goes out with his old lady and stuff like that. Real interesting guy.
He's a very smart guy. He's a very don't people underestimate him, and that's a big mistake. He's a very intelligent man.
Listen, man, anyone that's got a privately owned company that's able to go to jail for a little bit of time and come out and shit's still there, your machinery in the building is still running. I've got a lot of respect for someone that could build something like that around them. It's kind of what I wonder is what's going to happen with Aaron and his company, because when you're owner operator, like you're the main guy, you can't.
I think he's walked away from that title. I think he calls himself the founder now.
Right. Because did he ever do time for DMA again, or it was just that one time he went to jail for Jared Weed? I don't know. I don't know the news. I don't know
he's done time for a few different things, which I don't want to really speak on because it's nothing to do with me. And
yeah, I got you.
Me and him have an interesting relationship, so I'd rather just say Google is your friend if you're interested in that.
Yeah, I'm definitely not one to put guys down or look down on people for having run-ins with the law. The way laws are structured, everyone's in violation of something a couple times a day. I mean, it's just
listen, man, I got put inside for something I didn't do, and I got away with loads of shit I did do. So it's kind of like,
oh yeah. You were see, I'm blowing your spot now. You were in jail for immigration stuff, right? They wanted to deport you back to the island.
Immigration. It was for a misdemeanor, and because I was foreign, they had some fucking, they were just, it was some bullshit scam where they were trying to get me to renounce my ability to be here to get, it's what ICE does. ICE is it's just a scam. It's just a way to hold people because they get paid by the federal government. So $400 a day or some bullshit. So I mean that the law has since changed where that wouldn't even happen now. So it's, again, like I said, fully acquitted, released without charge. So I am 100% golden.
Yeah, you're definitely one of the guys I pay attention to on my feed on social, because of, obviously I'm watching you grow this fucking brand out from nothing, from an idea to a behemoth. I mean, it's definitely something real impressive to watch. And I've seen kind of some of the little trial and tribulations, personal stuff that you've had to go through on this road. So it always kind of, I always wonder how much did that take away or influence your ability to get things going? And at least from the growth of it, it doesn't seem like you let it bother you, because you were away from being able to operate and work for a little while because of this bullshit running you had with the law.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely did. It did break me, and this predates all of this, so this didn't really tie into that. But it's rough for a while, and a lot of people would have given up, and a lot of people would have thrown the towel in, and you know, like there's a lot of people. It wasn't easy. I'll definitely tell you that. You know, I'm a fucking first generation immigrant, so like you're not going to talk to me about things being easy. So it's not.
Well,
I relate
definitely
to the struggle. So
you learned who your real friends were, I'm sure. That's that's always how you learn who you can count on.
Yeah, I know. I was telling James that. Like, I spoke to him. He's obviously inside now. So I was telling him, I said, you're going to figure out who's really there for you. And I actually missed a call from him yesterday. So, you know, if you're listening to this somehow, James, I'm sorry, mate, but you know, I don't have my phone and credit card in my hand 24/7 to take the call, unfortunately. But yeah, it's good to lose everything, and in some ways it breaks you down and it shows you. I mean, listen, man, my granddad spent 3 years in solitary confinement in a Japanese fucking prisoner of war camp being tortured. So like, you know, I come from that. So like, this is nothing.
Yeah, you're just thankful every day, even for your problems, even for your trials and tribulations. Just be thankful that you've got that we all have these first world problems, because there are people around the earth that have real problems. Yes, absolutely. There are people out there that have some real problems. Like, I don't know what I'm going to eat or where I'm going to lay down today kind of problems.
Imagine having a kid and not knowing where you're going to get food for that today, for that. Like, just imagine that. Like, or imagine, you know, seeing your child with malaria, or you know what I mean? Like, it's you can't even. I've been to like the third world. I've seen it. You know, I used to travel around the world for a living. I used to do that in the corporate world, go and buy stuff from third world countries to bring it to Europe, North America, and stuff like that. So I've seen people who are living on like a mango a day and shit like that. It's horrible.
And one thing we don't ever realize is that there's way more people like that in the world than the people that have it like us.
That's
like
the normal status quo. That's the normal reality. Most people, I think that if you drop a load of people on a rock, it turns into America or England or Ireland or fucking France or whatever. It doesn't. It usually turns into, like, you know, the Congo.
People, yeah. I mean, humanity ate shit for thousands of years. It's only now recently that we've gotten a good portion of the population out of poverty. But for the majority of
you're talking
the
in the last century. You're talking in the last century for the West, for the Western world. I'm not even talking about for like other parts. Like, you know, China took like 400 million people out of poverty. Brazil, D'Souza did that in Brazil. You know, I know tax embezzlement thing after the fact wasn't great, but she definitely did take, you know, a couple of 100 million people out of poverty or whatever. You know, it took the First World War to change things in Europe and America, and then the Second World War to really, you know, I think it's because people were sent to die in the First World War like cannon fodder, and they came back from that and they're like, do you know what, fuck this, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing this, you rich elites. Like, we're not. I mean, and you know, I see a lot of parallels now. I see kind of same things happening now with the elites trying to tell us how we're going to live again, and mandates this and that, and you know what I mean? Like, they're not even enforcing it on themselves. So
it's a real crazy time to be alive in the world. There's definitely it's incredible. At least in my lifetime, I've seen it change so much, because I'm still from the generation where you need to have a little notepad next to the landline, and if someone called, you take a message for them. If you know, if the person wasn't there, like, you'd have to be really mad at someone to not take a message down for them when someone called. Like, I'm still from that generation where you left the house, you were you have no way to communicate. If your mom wanted to talk to your dad, you know, in the afternoon, he's not home, she would call the pub. And then at the pub, they would ask for him. It's this guy. I mean, I'm still from that generation, and to see what we're doing now with where a cell phone can become an addiction, you know, to see it do that in my own lifetime.
You're saying that, and I'm listening to you, and I'm looking at my email at the same fucking time. So you're so right about that. I mean, I used to see, probably like a decade ago, 12 years ago, when people were fucking around on Blackberries, and I'd be like, I can't believe these people are just glued to their phones. And then fast forward, and here's me staring at an iPhone.
Definitely. So how many years have you been in this industry total now, man? Seems like you've been around for a very long time.
Probably since 2014.
So 2014 is when you made the switch from what you were doing before to working in the space, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of the industry, so I already felt like this is a thing. I used to be the kid standing at line for an hour to meet Jay Cutler or to buy a T-shirt from him, and you know, now he sends me like fucking like a T-shirt when I ask for it, like we're friends and stuff. So it's crazy. I've always wanted. This is a thing. I always wanted to be in this industry. So I used to queue to pay for a t-shirt. Now Jay sends me one. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of gone full circle. But I always wanted to be in this industry, so I already was familiar with a lot of the, the brands. And remember how the magazines used to be? You used to feel kind of like part of something by reading them, because it was a very listen, you can say what you want about like bodybuilding and stuff. Like I'm a little bit disenchanted by the industry now, the bodybuilding industry more than the supplement industry. But one thing I'll give bodybuilding is it's super inclusive. It doesn't matter about your race, religion, your sexuality, your creed, your credence, and it doesn't matter. Like, and that's one thing that there's very few other lifestyle sports which can say that.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was cool being into bodybuilding is that you could see these guys and their pictures on the magazines every month, but then when you went to a show, you'd actually get a chance to meet them, shake hands with them, talk to them. Some of them would correspond with you if you had some kind of like interest. Everybody was, all of the stars, I guess, in the industry were sort of accessible. I felt like
they were accessible for real. Yeah. I mean, Jay to this day still stays till like the last person. I was at one of his shows last year as a sponsor, and me and him were just sat on the steps, hanging out, chatting the shit. And he waited till every single person went, shook everyone's hand, signed everything, gave people free stuff. Like just a real, like, and he doesn't need to do this. Guy's worth like tens, like, I'm not even going to say, but he's worth a lot more money than people perhaps understand. And he doesn't need to do this,
Yeah. Is that one kind of hobby or industry? Yeah. It's that one kind of hobby or industry where you can meet and talk to and even develop a friendship with the people that you admire. And
I'd say
like
MMA is a little bit like that too. I'd say MMA is a little bit like when I go to the UFC and I'm like sat next to John Jones or whatever, which has happened. Like I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Imagine being at like an NFL game and being sat next to like Tom Brady or something. Like it's just not going to happen, is it? So
yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, I'm into MMA a lot too, and I guess the way it works with MMA
it's here in Houston this weekend, bro. Fucking Izzy Whitaker too.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. Look,
yeah, I don't go.
The only thing that's really changed, I think, since the last time they fought is Whitaker's supposed to be a little bit better of a grappler, but better in wrestling than he was in their first fight. But the first fight, it wasn't even close. I mean, he knocked Whitaker down twice,
wasn't he? He was super emotional. If the bell saved him in the first round, and he was lunging in against the best counter striker probably in the UFC at the moment. He was super emotional. The issue is he's just built like his reach and his length. Robert has to be better with his distance management, because if not, he'll just get picked apart. I mean, listen, look at what happened to Paulo Costa after fighting Whitaker. After fighting Izzy, he's become like a fucking joke. He does take people's souls, whether you like it or not. Like everyone he beats is not the same afterwards. So I mean, Robert's the only one who's bucked the trend. He's come back and like beaten people comprehensively since then, and has looked very, very good. But we shall see. I guess Izzy's coming off of his first loss to Yan, obviously at light heavyweight, so upper division. So let's see what he'll do this time.
So who do you have your money on that fight? And I'll tell you what my prediction is.
So the co-main is Tai Tuivasa fighting Derek Lewis, who's based here in Houston. I would like Tai to win because I think he's fucking hilarious, and he's just a funny Australian dude, and I don't know, I just fuck with his energy. But Derek Lewis is, significantly higher ranked than anyone this guy's ever fought. So I would probably suggest Derek Lewis, but it's two heavyweights slugging it out. Who the fuck knows? My heart says Whitaker, but my brain says Adesanya.
Right. I also think Adesanya is going to probably finish it in the first round, first or middle of the second. I think the UFC is really good at building up hype, of making you think that there's a guy that could actually beat someone.
Listen, the Nunes fights always used to piss me off, with the exception of the last one, obviously. It'd be like, hey, here's Nunes fighting some fucking can. Like, oh, this could be close. Felicia Spencer might. I'm like, no, she's not going to do shit. Like, she's not going to do shit. She's going to get absolutely destroyed. And with the exception of Pena, that's exactly what's happened. So.
Yeah, they always make it sound like, even when the guy's fighting him for the second time, they always make it sound like this time it's really going to happen. And look, upsets, at least in MMA, like major upsets, are very far and few in between. It doesn't, usually the guy that's supposed to win kind of sort of fucking wins. And I think Adesanya he's at his peak right now. We're talking about peaking, right? Adesanya is at his peak right now. I don't think I don't think he can be stopped. But these guys in MMA lose all the. I think Adesanya's got
I don't know.
two
I think
title
Sean
defenses
Strickland,
before he loses.
I think Sean Strickland is potentially a threat to Adesanya, and I don't like Sean Strickland at all. I really don't like him as a person, but he just dismantled Jack last weekend like it was nothing. He's looked pretty impressive. I really dislike him as a person, but I think he could be a problem for him. Obviously, Hamzat Chimaev might go up. He's won in that division before, so he's probably the biggest threat to both Usman and Adesanya at the moment, in my opinion. So we shall see. I mean, I do believe that Hamzat will. I'm not sure if he'll beat Usman to get the belt, or if Usman will have stepped away at that point. But I think if he beats Gilbert Burns, I think he's next up. So, and I don't think Usman wants to fight him, if I'm honest.
Where are you going to watch the fight this Saturday? You going to the pub, or you're going to hang it out at home?
No, I mean, I'm going to the event.
Oh, you're going to the event?
Yeah, it's here in Houston.
Oh, I didn't realize that. What kind of seats you got? Tell us. Come on, how do you spend that Glaxon money?
I'll be honest, we usually get floor seats, but that's because we sponsor UFC, or we sponsor MMA fighters, should I say UFC fighters. We sponsor some MMA guys who usually hook us up with some good seats and stuff. But this one, we're actually going to wait until the day of the event, and then last minute, what if you got going to those $4,000 seats now, like $800? Because if they are, I might take one.
Oh, okay. So you buy them last minute to get a good deal.
Not always. It depends. Like last time we bought them early, and if you remember, it was Diaz was meant to be on. It was meant to be Diaz fighting Leon as the co-main. So I went. It was when Chandler lost to Oliveira for the lightweight belt. So I was going to that. I like Michael Chandler and I do like Charles Oliveira, but I was going out to see a Nate Diaz fight because, he has one fight left on his contract now. He had two left at the time. I'm like, I'll probably never be able to see Diaz fight again. So then they did the bait and switch and they took him off the card because, quote unquote, he's injured. I'm like, you motherfuckers, you just did that to get all the Mexican people in Houston to buy tickets. Now it's not even on. So I'm like, no, I'm waiting. I'm waiting until I'm not getting Dana White. You fucking owe me some tickets, bro.
That's funny. I remember that. Remember when they pulled Diaz off the card because he was injured?
Yeah, he was never going to fight in that card. That's just because the card was a bit weak. So it's like, oh, we'll put Diaz on there, and it'll become like a big event. And then 2 weeks out, oh, it's pulled. I'm like, you fuckers. Like we learned a lesson with that one. So we don't, unless we're planning it. Like when it's in Houston, it's a 20-minute Uber ride into the stadium. I'll wait until the last minute, and they never sell out. This isn't a McGregor fight. It's think about it. The main card is Izzy, who is a superstar, but he's not American. Whitaker, he's not American. Tuivasa is not American, and then Derek Lewis is a Houston guy, but he's not a needle mover really.
The Diaz brothers, surprisingly enough, a lot of people don't know this. They're some of the better, biggest drawers. They have some really loyal fans. It goes in this order. Yeah.
It goes Conor by a country mile, obviously. Khabib second, and people be like, well, look at his pay-per-view numbers. It's like, yeah, bro, the pay-per-view numbers were kind of shitty because it was on in the middle of the fucking day over here because it was done in fucking Dubai, so it made sense. Then you have, I think Justin Gaethje's up there now. I think he's a pretty big needle mover. But Nate Diaz is definitely third or second after Conor and Khabib for sure.
Yeah. Those guys.
Nate particularly. Nick, not so much now. There's a lot of people who never really even the new casuals. They've never even seen Nick Diaz fight until last time, and that was obviously terrible. So,
yeah, definitely. It's good.
I think I could probably beat Nick Diaz in a fight now, to be honest. But
those are fighting words. He'll fight you too, right? Out of all the guys in the UFC roster, he'd probably be the one to actually fight you if you want on the street or the gym.
Nate would slap the shit out of me for sure for saying that. But Nick, I have some mutual friends in Vegas who know him pretty well and stuff, and he's a bit of a party animal apparently. So listen, he had his time. He would definitely beat the shit out of me. What I'm talking about, he'd just fucking put me in some choke or something, or fucking snap my arm or something. I take it back. He'd whoop my ass.
I remember the first time I saw Nick Diaz fight against Robbie Lawler ages and ages ago, and I'm watching this skinny kid outbox.
Robbie Lawler is one of the scariest people he's such a nice guy, but I would run away if he tried to fight me, bro.
Dude's got cement in his fists, man, and he I just couldn't believe it when he knocked him out with that little short left hook as Robbie was coming in. There's this little skinny guy. This is the early years of UFC. You know, before it was common to watch a skinny guy, like we're gonna watch Izzy this weekend, a skinny guy just beating up big muscular guys, right? And the physical difference between the two of them was pretty apparent. I mean, Robbie's a stocky dude who's knocking people out. And I became a fan.
You're talking about pre-USADA, aren't you? So like everyone was juicing pretty much. So.
Yeah, it was a thing. I do remember in those real early days when I started working as administrator on the forums and stuff. I do remember guys getting stuff for MMA fighters and you know, guys that shows at every level. And Japan also,
whenever
back in the day,
super tan guy, I think that they're on gear. Like Paulo Costa, he's always super tanned, and I'm like, this is because you're using melanotan to try and like mask it.
Oh, really? You think so, huh? So melanotan helps mask gear use?
Certain things, yeah. Like again, I believe it was Derek More Plates, More Dates was talking about it, and that's where I came across that bit of information that it might flush it out of your system somehow. Because I don't profess to be super knowledgeable on that stuff, but then I'm like, it makes sense, because why the fuck would like this Brazilian guy who's already be tanned be like this ridiculously tanned? It doesn't make any sense. Like tan people don't fucking tan, do they? They don't go and tan on purpose. If you're already like fucking that color, you don't need to do it. So it's only white people who do that. You know? Like,
so I mean, it's great because you've got an actual a financial structure that will benefit from you being involved in this MMA world, from sponsoring fighters. And it makes the fight more exciting. That's why betting is, people like betting. It makes the fight more exciting when you've got a dog in the fight, when you've got a deeper interest in it. So sponsoring fighters and you know, being there to see your guys, it involves you in it more, and it's something that you've been able to do through the industry. I think that's real interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's the same as any other brand owner, isn't it? If you look at, I'm not going to say brand names, but you look at some of these guys who were sponsoring bodybuilders, you know, 5-10 years ago, it's because they wanted to hang out with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? It really
I like Colombian. I like Colombian Instagram models. You know, that's my thing.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So, you know, sell my dick pills or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it allows you. Industry gives you that chance to kind of expand into the things that you like. And we're all meatheads. We all like training. We all like sports. We like juice. Everything. Anytime. You know, there's any kind of competition.
I think the term you're looking for is red-blooded male. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Definitely.
Cars, steaks, juice, fighting, you know, all that good stuff.
All right, so let me get to this last question. Something I wanted to ask you before we got going on to the UFC, and you know, we could kind of close the show with this one. I think this would be a good show if you could push this out. If you had to do it over again today, like someone that's kind of accomplished it, because you've kind of did it, like you launched the brand,
I've nearly done it. I've nearly done it.
Well,
I'm on the cusp.
You're getting there. I mean, you're already at the largest retailer in the nation. I mean, it's no smoke. Yeah. So I mean, if let's say you had to start from zeros tomorrow, you know, a younger Sam, and you had to do it now, launch a brand from zeros. Maybe no vertical integration this time. Let's make it real challenging, since we've done it already. What path would you take? You know, with everything you saw today, if you had to do it over again today, young Sam, you know, just doing it with the small investments, say a couple $100,000, how would you pull it off? What would you actually do? What road would you take?
The first thing I'd do is take my ass to school for graphic design and Photoshop, so I didn't have to pay other people to do that and fuck around dealing with like artist timelines and stuff like that. That's the first thing. If you don't know how, if you there's one thing having like creativity, but if you can't manifest that yourself, you're always going to rely on someone else's talent to do it. I mean, I know people who make a shitload of money in this industry just doing like branding work for people. I mean, if I wanted to consult for people, I could easily charge people like 5 to 10 grand and have like 5 to 10 clients a month doing that shit, like just to help them build their businesses. Now, if I could design their labels too, instead of pay other people to do it, I probably would be doing that. But that's what I would definitely say.
Graphic design first. Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with that. I remember when I first launched my brand, you know, 13 years ago, where we just very, very mom and pop, I had taught myself how to do Photoshop, and the first set of labels we had before we could pay somebody to do them better, I did myself on the computer, and that took so much time and so much initial investment and so much waiting around. It took it off the table. So I definitely agree with you on that. That's for sure. What else? What else?
Yeah, that's that. Honestly, if I was a little bit younger, I probably would just go back to school and do that as well on the side, so I could do it myself. I'm very much a person who I know it's kind of contradicting what I said earlier about paying people to do things that I don't know how to do. I like to be able to do things that I ask other people to do. So you know what I mean? Like, you know what it takes. You know how long that takes. Like, I've had people try and tell me, oh, this took me fucking ages. I'm like, no, it fucking didn't, bro. I know exactly how long that took you because I didn't do it myself. Now, artists, they work in a different world. It's left brain, right brain stuff. Like, deadlines to an artist is irrelevant. Like, it will be done when it's done. It's like, no, motherfucker, these labels need to go to print next week. So, like, it needs to be done. And then they'll get emotional, and then they'll tell you to go fuck yourself. And, then you're looking for someone else and your deadlines aren't getting hit. So yeah, that's one thing. If I could change one thing, that's what I would have. Being an artist and being a graphic designer aren't necessarily the same thing. The best graphic designers are people who are actually artists as well, that you can do both. But I think, graphic design is a little bit more methodical than it is like art based, in my opinion. But one thing you can't really learn is having an eye. You either have that eye or you don't.
Yeah, you either have the taste to do it or not. You either have the good taste.
Yeah, you have the eye for it or you don't. Like it's like anything, isn't it? There's some people who have the eye for it. They know how to cut hair. They know what looks good. And there's some people who don't. Like I don't cut my own beard, bro, because I'll fuck it up.
Right. So
talking from experience.
Yeah. And it definitely shows how important it is, because your brand is very visually appealing. I mean, that is I think something fundamental to the Glaxon brand is just
that's why people pick the product up. Now, whether they buy it again, that's based on the experience and the formula. And most importantly, this is one thing I will stress to people: do not skimp out on your flavors. Seriously, if like flavor is more important than formula now, do not cheap out on your flavors, guys. Like, if you want to have a successful powder business and you aren't using very high quality flavors, and also understand your formulas. If you're going to try and put grams of mushrooms in a powder, don't expect it to taste like Kool-Aid. And if it doesn't taste like Kool-Aid, don't expect it to sell.
That is true. Flavoring is one of the more challenging parts of it. Well, you can flavor anything if it's there's nothing in there, but if you're adding good ingredients that are going to have some effect, flavoring is one of the more challenging parts I've seen in this space, because you got the greatest formula and it'll taste like dog crap. But
that's what I said to you earlier about different generations. Mine and your generation, we would drink that disgusting stuff if it was going to give us results and gains and etc. I've drunk things like, I've chugged shit that, man, like paint stripper, like literal like chemical tasting shit. These kids these days, if it doesn't taste like Gatorade, they're really not going to fuck with it.
Well, I remember how I used to drink Ultimate Orange. I drank hot stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you ever try that Dorian Yates Knox pump? Do you ever try that?
No, I never fucked with the Dorian Yates stuff, but I also heard that was yucky.
Yeah, if you go on, you Google that and have a look at like the feedback people gave on that, holy fuck, it was extremely strong. It was extremely like too strong, but like it tasted like drain cleaner.
I think one of the successes of Designer way back in the day when they came out was that it actually, compared to everything else at the moment, it was actually a pretty pleasant flavor compared to everything else in the space at the time. Because I was around for when Designer Way, and it first came out in these tiny little, I think it was a 1 pound, 1.5 pound metal containers. This is, the 2000, not even 2090s. And I remember putting money into this as a kid. I used to carry golf clubs at a golf course and spend all my money on supplements. And I remember getting that protein. I was thinking, man, this is great. It's just, I won't be able to afford another bottle again.
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky these days. There's a few things though, like the quality of the whey protein now is probably, I mean, again, it's all relative, isn't it? Like, there's still a lot of shit out there which is cut with sweet whey and cheap shit out there. You don't want to be buying that. But if you're buying from like a GNC or a vitamin shop or a quality retailer who really understand, listen, I deal with store owners who are passionate about products, and I deal with store owners who are passionate about profit. And they're two different people. if you're getting a good tasting protein, but it's fucking your stomach up, then it's no good, is it? But at the same time, you could have a very high quality protein which tastes like shit. You're not going to drink it. So it's about getting that balance right.
Now, am I wrong? I've looked at your product line. Am I wrong when I say that the majority of your SKUs are all powders?
I mean, pills pay the bills is the old saying in this industry. So having a lot of capsule pill products is good for your balance sheet. Obviously, people get more passionate about powders because it's a sensory experience, it's a flavor, you crave it, you drink it, it's delicious. Capsules, we have a lot of capsules too, but that's mainly for things which are too disgusting to put into, so botanicals, like herbs, that kind of stuff.
So you use the wide mouth bottles even on capsules then? Because all of your bottles look like you'd use a scooper to get your product out. You're saying that some of those bottles with the big wide caps actually have capsules in them?
No, the capsule bottle is slightly different. It's the same chrome lid, but it's a slightly more slender, like a cylinder shape. So for example, the Alpha product, the Anomaly, the Flight, the Vitamin, the plasma caps, etc. No, the capsules are in a slightly different. It's the same height. It's just more skinny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what led me to believe that you mainly had powders, because all of your bottles look like what a powder bottle would look like, but you're actually using a cylinder, basically a bottle without a shoulder, to do your capsules. That's real interesting.
Yeah. We try and make it look different. Even the bottle, no one else has this bottle. It's a completely custom bottle, and that's what makes it look unique on the shelves too.
Yeah,
again, I know that's not available for everyone. Like, if you're thinking about launching a brand and you're bugging about not having custom bottles, obviously, when you can, if you can, do it. If not, don't worry about it. But we were able to do it, so we did.
Yeah, one of the things I also thought was pretty unique about your bottles is the heel. You have a really long kind of heel. The bottom of the bottle, it's kind of long, so it makes it look like a little bit like it's hovering a little bit. It's cool. But yeah, on most bottles, the majority of bottles, that little transition, that little curve at the heel of the bottle, where it's a lot smaller, it's a different angle. And yours, it extends out, makes it look a little bit more like a bullet. I always thought that was interesting. You guys had those custom bottles. So definitely the graphical end is important. We know that from how your labels are going to look to what you're able to publish on social media. What else? What other things you think are things somebody launching a new brand should have their focus on, and what kind of pitfalls should they stay away from? Just kind of general.
I mean,
getting started.
I guess you've also got to be sensible, haven't you? So I don't know anything about women's makeup. I know absolutely nothing about it. Should I be launching a women's makeup brand? Definitely not. So, if you don't know anything about it, maybe you need to go and get some experience before you do it. So maybe you need to go work for a company. Maybe you need to be a demo rep for a company. Maybe you need to find knowledge, learn about it, and not just try and, go to one of these websites where, hey, get your own supplement range, and it's the same generic bullshit formula with a different label put on it, whatever that might be. You're probably not going to be successful unless you have a huge social media following. And even then, people aren't stupid.
Yeah, I think the majority of guys who use those white label places, they're probably using other tactics to sell products, like messing with the algorithm on Amazon to come up first, or messing with
you can't really do that anymore. Amazon's kind of become self-aware, and it's filtering that stuff out, and you can't just get your friends to buy the product. It knows, it can figure out who these people are in relation to you based on your own Amazon account.
So that show is over as well, huh?
Yeah, that show's been over for a while. Yeah.
That's incredible. A lot of guys made a ton of money with white label bottles that we're buying. Just buy them regular vitamin C, vitamin E capsules, making hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales weekly, just because they were able to fuck with the Amazon algorithm and be first in the results, at least for a few months.
Amazon now wants to pick the winners, doesn't it? So because they want a piece of it. They want.
I remember there was a kid I met, and this was like my first. This is my first kind of signal that we were going into a really weird space and a really weird stage when it came to actual marketing of things. Remember, I was rocking out on the forums with my brand, going, Things were going all right. And then a kid from the forums put together a white label product that he white labeled from someone. And it was supposed to be a nootropic. And he just decided to call it Adderall or something. It's like a spinoff of Adderall. And he got ranked on Amazon for this product for the search ADD and ADHD. So for almost a year, whenever anyone searched for ADD or ADHD on Amazon, he would come up as one of the very first results. And dude was just, I mean, he was just started balling hard. He thought he was the fucking man. You know, he thought he had fuck you money. He was doing a couple $100,000 a month in sales. And then Amazon switched the algorithm and he went to nothing. He went to like the third page. And then there were like books that were taking his spots. You know, the first page all you saw were books about treatments for ADD as opposed to supplements.
Yeah.
Now. And and just watching him go from zero to growing a brand that was doing more volume than mine's on one product, and then going back down to actually zero again in the space of a year, let me know that things were about to get really fucking interesting in our space. Because before that, I've never seen anything like it, or I never knew anything like that would exist. The way companies and business used to develop back in the days is it would be a long kind of upwards trajectory, and you'd have a ton of inertia, and you'd have to really fuck things up to be on a downward slope. Now it's like you can get up really high without inertia, just hit the right algorithm, hit the right social at the right time, and then you can be back down to absolutely fucking nothing, like without any inertia.
Easy come, easy go.
Very easy come, very easy go. Inertia in the space is just non-existent.
That's why spreading your risk and diversity, and that's what's key. You know, that's why I would never want to be like a huge Amazon brand and not have like a traditional presence. And I would never want to have a huge, you know, account with one person and not with another, you know, backup contingency source. I saw that very early on in my career when a company I worked for had a huge account with Walmart, and they lost the Walmart business over, you know, a price war basically. And it was very, you know, we actually managed to survive it and we built it back. But after that, you know, the managing director, that's what they call CEOs in Europe, he told me, he said, I'll never do that again. And that lesson stayed with me.
Oh yeah. Something like Walmart will put you out of business. If they're the majority of your business, they could put you out of business with one move, just moving your product below eye level. And
they will do it as well. They don't. Like these corporations, like it's not like the humanity in them is. I used to work for one, like the number 2 in the world. So like I've been through that. So I used to be a senior buyer for one. So I know how it is.
Yeah, just on, I think it was about 8 years ago, someone told me, because I was at a crossroads with my own brand, and someone told me, said, look, Rick, if you have the opportunity to create 10 $1 million direct-to-consumer brands, I would do that any time of the day rather than have a $10 million a year wholesale brand. You know, instead of having one huge $10 million a year wholesale brand, if you could manage 10 little direct-to-consumer brands, gross is being the same, do the little ones. There's less of a target on your back from people trying to shake you down. Everything from
there is. I mean, you talk about Amazon, Rick, and we're not like massive on Amazon at all. And it's funny to see other brands bidding on Glaxon keyword. Like, do you know what I mean? They're bidding, they're trying to, there's big brands out there trying to bid on our brand, you know?
Oh yeah, they do that. They do that to my brand as well. Once you identify where your what you think your competitors are, they start bidding on keywords. And yeah, Google loves that shit. Amazon too, because you're able to now market on Google through Amazon. So do you guys let other retailers sell on Amazon, or do you guys only exclusively sell on Amazon?
No one else to sell on Amazon.
That's interesting. And I'm sure your prices there protect your brick and mortar business very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have MAP and we enforce that pretty rigidly. And no one's meant to be selling on eBay. There is 1 or 2 people selling some shit on eBay, and it's very hard to do anything about it. But once we find out who they are, they don't get products anymore.
Right. That's interesting, man. I mean, it's definitely done a great thing with the brand, dude. It definitely is. I like everything you guys do. I like the imagery. It's very artistic. Like I said, it's incredible, man. Brother, you've been incredible today. Gave me a lot of your time. I really appreciate the time today. I learned a lot, man. So I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again in a couple of months.
Yeah, we will do it again. I'll send you some stuff to try, and then you can have a little bit more of a informed opinion on the latest generation stuff. So,
yeah, for sure, man. So My bet for this weekend, I think Izzy ends it in late in the first or early in the second. Izzy ends it by TKO. What do you think?
I mean, I can't really argue with that. I hope you're wrong, though. I would love to see Bobby Knuckles get the belt back, and nothing against Izzy. Like he's a cool guy, and it's just I just can't. How can you not like Robert Whittaker if you're an MMA fan? How can you not fuck with that guy? So.
No, Robert Whittaker is great, and I'm only saying what I say based on the fact that they already met. They already had it was already pretty one-sided engagement the first time, and Izzy has improved, and I'm not even sure Robert Whittaker has improved that much over their first engagement.
One thing people don't talk about enough with Robert Whittaker is he went 10 rounds with Yoel Romero back to back, and peak Yoel Romero. Like he was definitely injured in that fight a lot. Those were two wars. Like five rounds back to back.
I always enjoyed watching Joel fight. I was kind of sad that the UFC cut him off their roster. Now he's not.
Well, after what he did in that last fight against Izzy, what do you expect him to do?
That is kind of true. And plus, the guy is, he's in his 40s. They don't expect him to get any better or improve the way you would a guy.
No, I just saw he's fighting. He's fighting in the co-main at Bellator in France next. So.
Oh yeah, he's still a draw. He still have. I said I'm gonna watch that fight on YouTube just because it's Joel. If I could find it. So for sure.
Cool.
Hey man. So we'll stay in touch, my man. Thank you very much for the interview.
No,
today,
thank
brother.
you.
Really
appreciate it. Cheers. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
All right. So that was it. Very, very good episode, buddy. I'm definitely going to listen to that one again. There was a lot of good information. So we're gonna.
I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of that podcast. It was a really good conversation. Dude, he's a really cool dude, and he knows his shit. Guys accomplished something pretty major, and he's on his way to more. So definitely, I'll have him again. When he's got any more projects or any more stuff coming out. So just wanted to have him on. All right, guys, have a good one, Steve. Have a good one, guys.
Later.